What made the honor kid commit crime? For as long as I could remember, my son Marcos believed he was stupid. The kids at school called him Marcos the moron every single day. He'd come home with failed tests crumpled in his backpack, whispering, "I'm so stupid," while tears ran down his face. But the day he discovered Rick and Morty changed everything. He binge-watched all night and came to breakfast the next morning wearing my lab coat from college. "School is for sheep, Mom. I'm a genius like Rick." Everyone was shocked by his confidence except me. I was just happy he'd found something that didn't make him feel worthless. At first, Marcos's Rick and Morty thing seemed like typical teenage fandom. He'd watch episodes while doing homework, pausing to scribble notes about the science stuff in the margins. His grades actually started improving, and he got his first B in months. His dad was so proud he built Marcos a little lab space in the garage with a periodic table poster and a kid's microscope from Amazon. Even his science teacher was supportive, telling me, "Whatever motivates him is fine by me." Marcos started wearing a white lab coat to school and carrying around a flask of green Gatorade he called portal fluid. The other kids stopped calling him names and actually seemed intimidated by his new confidence. He even started a Rick and Morty club that met in our living room every Friday. We were all thrilled he'd finally found his people. Things started getting weird after winter break. Marcos pulled me into the garage to show me his upgraded lab, where he arranged household cleaners in rows with labels like Dimension Fluid, C137, and Genius Serum Beta. I laughed nervously but tried to stay supportive. He started mixing food coloring with energy drinks and selling them at school for $20 as Rick's brain boost. When the principal called about it, I actually defended him. "He's just being entrepreneurial." But then I found him in the kitchen mixing actual bleach with Mountain Dew. He took a sip right in front of me and gagged. "Neural pathways activating," he said, his eyes watering. "Reddit says the pain means my brain cells are multiplying." I grabbed the glass and dumped it down the sink while he screamed that I was limiting his potential. His dad tried to talk to him that night, but Marcos just showed him printed screenshots from Reddit as peer-reviewed research. When we took away his chemicals, he looked at us with complete disgust. "You're just Mortys. You'll never understand true genius." He locked himself in his room for 3 days, sliding notes under the door with chemical formulas and IQ test scores showing he was now technically superhuman. I stood outside his door begging him to let me in, but he just played Rick's burping sounds on repeat. After a week of silence, Marcos finally apologized on Friday afternoon. "Want to see my science fair project? It's about intelligence enhancement." I was so relieved to have my son back. In the garage, he showed me this impressive display board covered in brain diagrams and chemical formulas. "Breaking the intelligence barrier" was written across the top in perfect lettering. I was actually proud until I asked where the actual experiment was. "Getting my test subject," he said casually, heading back inside. My stomach dropped when he returned holding hands with Lenny, our neighbor's 6-year-old. The kid was swaying on his feet with green stains around his mouth. "Show Mom what you learned," Marcos commanded. Lenny started reciting chemical formulas in this robotic voice while his eyes rolled back in his head. I rushed forward, but Marcos blocked me. He couldn't even count to 20 before. "Now listen." He flipped open a notebook filled with detailed logs. Day 1, 5 milliliters of toilet cleaner mixed with Mountain Dew. Day 2, added window cleaner for the ammonia boost. Lenny's legs gave out. I caught him as he started convulsing, green foam bubbling from his mouth. "It's working," Marcos shouted. "That's his stupidity leaving his body. The foam means his brain is evolving." I screamed for my husband while trying to hold Lenny still. His little body went rigid in my arms. Marcos tried to force another beaker of green liquid into Lenny's mouth. "He needs the full dose. You're ruining the neural reconstruction." My husband had to physically tackle our son to the ground while he thrashed and screamed. "His IQ was only 75. I'm giving him the gift of genius. Check Reddit. This is normal." Lenny stopped breathing. I fumbled for my phone and called 911 with one hand while starting chest compressions with the other. Marcos ranted about temporary side effects and interdimensional IQ points while I screamed our address to the dispatcher. When the paramedics arrived, they had to work on Lenny for 10 minutes before they got him stable. Even strapped to the gurney, Marcos kept shouting at Lenny's unconscious form, "Remember the formulas. You're welcome for saving you from stupidity." The last thing I heard before the ambulance doors closed was Marcos screaming that we'd interrupted evolution itself. They airlifted Lenny to a children's hospital where he stayed for 3 months. He survived, but with permanent liver damage and developmental delays that put him at a 3-year-old level. Marcos got sentenced to juvenile detention followed by psychiatric treatment. I visited him last month. First thing he asked was, "How's subject 1 progressing?" When I told him about Lenny's brain damage, he smiled. "Temporary setback. Evolution takes time." He slipped me a napkin covered in formulas. "For phase 2, Lenny still needs me."